Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video how to replace your coolant flange pipe, what goes from your thermostat to your engine block. This is a very common failure on these cars, N54, N55, N52, a lot of N series engines, the straight sixes. So what fails is the plastic part, what goes right over here. As you see, this is a plastic part, what gets brittle over time, over like thousands of heat cycles, and the plastic wears off and it just cracks. This is the hose what goes to it. It should be connected right over here with like a metal clamp what goes over, but this part just completely cracked off and just started spewing coolant everywhere. Like I said, this is a very common part of failure on these cars. So if you want to upgrade the part, I highly recommend changing to this is a OEM part made by the OEM manufacturer. I'll link the part in the description below, but I got this off of FCP Euro. This is a aluminum part and it just goes right into place of the plastic part what broke off. So in order to do that, I don't know if your hose did crack. If it did crack, you could just simply take this metal clamp, what I'll show you. So this metal clamp right over here was right in this place, and you could... Alright, so if your part didn't break off yet, you're gonna have this hose connected to this with a metal clamp what looks like this right in that place. So what you're gonna have to do is unscrew those two bolts, take that off, and you could either try cutting the metal clamp off right over here with like some type of saw, but do not damage the rubber hose, because that's just gonna fail over time if it's gonna have a slit in it. Or I had it break, so it was like easy for me to slide off. Or you could just try pulling on the plastic flange and try to like take it off, because it was kind of easy for me to take the flange off. If it broke for you, you're just probably going to be able to slide it off as I did, the metal clamp. But also take off from inside the pipe, the plastic fitting what was inside. Do not leave it in there, because you don't want plastic bits in your coolant system. So take that out, and then I'll show you how to install the new aluminum replacement part. In order to get to this coolant flange, you would have to remove your air snorkel, what is like right over here. That's just two bolts in front. And then you also have to take out your radiator fan, what is probably, I have an aftermarket radiator. I don't remember how the original one was, but there should be two screws on each side. And after doing that, on taking those two screws out, you unplug your fan right over here, your fan connector, by pulling these two clips, pushing them in, take it straight out. The bolts are 10mm, so I'm gonna take this out and then be right back. Alright, after removing this old flange, what I have done right over here, which I said are two 10mm bolts, they're not torqued down really firmly. They're very loose, like I would say about 10 foot-pounds. So when you're reinstalling this part, do not torque it down too much. These are very the threads on these bolts aren't that big, so you do not want to strip the block, which is aluminum. So, and that's just gonna make it a whole nother pain in the ass to like tap them again, because you don't want to leak. And when I was taking the old plastic flange off, right over here, you see this is heavily like really brittle. When I took it out, I'll show you right over here, this is the O-ring what is at the end of it, and this is the internal part. It just basically fell apart. You could tell after all these heat cycles, these plastic parts get extremely brittle. So this is what goes inside the block. As you see, it cracked off when I took it out. And I was very gentle on it, extremely gentle. You also don't want to like mar the block inside, because that's where the O-ring seal is and it's gonna leak if you scratch it all up. What I took was a flathead screwdriver, and I took it between the block and the flange and just lightly pushed it up, and it cracked off. So you could tell that this part needs replacing. My car has around 110,000 miles, and what I had failed before in the cooling system, so I'm not going to go over everything, was the coolant reservoir tank. It cracked right along this seam right over here. I also had what else failed? This failed, like I just showed you, and the old radiator right over here cracked. That's why I replaced it with a CSF fully aluminum radiator. It's also a bit thicker, so the cooling is better. So if that happens, I highly recommend the CSF radiator. Big upgrade. Alright, so after you're done, clean out the mating surface right over here with a paper towel or some rag. Just get it clean so the O-ring has perfect sealing around it so you don't get any leaks. And then this pipe right over here, also clean it out, like just the tip, whatever is going to be going over the flange. Alright, so with the new part, what I recommend is just putting a little oil on this O-ring or some type of lubricant. I just use belt conditioner because it just makes it slippery, I guess. So when you put it inside the block, you don't pinch the O-ring, because once you pinch the O-ring, you're going to have a leak. So you don't want to damage the O-ring, so just put a little bit of some type of, I don't know, oil, engine oil, some type of lubricant on the O-ring so it slides in easy and seals. Alright, so I just greased up the O-ring a little just so it slides in easy. Just push it in. It's gonna require some force, but then you're gonna just feel it like pop in. And then, like, once again, these are both 10mm bolts. Screw them down with like not too much force. It is aluminum block, so you do not want to strip that. Use common sense, I guess. So when you're done installing this, you in the kit, you get this clamp. You want to take pliers, push this together, and slide it over the hose. And then when you're done with that, you put the hose over this, what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to slide this over where the original clamp was. So, like you see, flange is on, 2 bolts. You take this clamp, you slide it over the hose first, then you slide the hose over the flange, and then you bring the clamp back down and just make sure it's like secured around. You're gonna feel like that little groove of the flange. Make sure it's behind it so it's sealing properly. And yeah, so when you're done with that, you most likely, well, you definitely lost some coolant after that. So open your coolant reservoir up. Mine's probably completely empty now because it just bursted when I was driving. So it's completely empty. Leave your cap over there. So don't use no generic coolant. Go to a dealership or buy it off FCP Euro. That's where I have it, bought it. I'll link it once again down below in the description. BMW antifreeze / coolant. This is what you need. This is 1 gallon of it, but it makes 2 gallons for your car because it's a 50-50 mix. You also need some distilled water for that. Pick it up at CVS. You drive a BMW, so don't cheap out. Buy some distilled water, some pure water. Some measuring cup, a funnel to pour it into your 50-50 blend. This is what I have so far, but I'm going to make more. So do that 50-50 and then be right back. Alright, after filling up your coolant reservoir tank, you can fill it up to full, but just or around here, so that level is just about sticking out. I ran out of distilled water, so I'm going to have to run and get more. But I'll show you how to do the coolant bleeding procedure. This is an electronic water pump, so you do not have to turn the car on. So what do? What you do is open the car, get inside, you put key in the ignition. ignition. You press the button once so it goes into accessory mode. You put your heat all the way up with 1 bar of fan, and then you hold down the accelerator for around 10 seconds. You're gonna hear the water pump turn on. And we wait. Yep, just heard it go. After doing that, you go up to your reservoir tank, and you hear your water pump circulating. As you see, it's taking everything underneath the fluid. So you're gonna let this run for like about I think it's 12 minutes or something like that, and it's gonna do its job, circulate coolant all over the whole system, make sure that it's bled, and then you're good from there. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comment below. I'll get back to you, and thanks for watching.